On a Yahoo Answers page, John Myers asked the question, "Do you think God exists?" He received a number of interesting responses, including, "I know God lives," by John 2:1, "I came to know that God exists," by Cheruvima, and one user who called himself Joshua even said, "What? Think? No, I know God exists," directly contrasting thinking with knowing. The user Jesus equals eternal love also claimed to know that God exists because he or she could feel his presence and see his work in other people's lives. And Ladida5 again contrasted thinking with knowing, claimed to know that God exists, and cited his or her faith as the source of this knowledge. And this brings us to the fifth lie that Christians tell, and why they tell it: that knowing is a matter of certainty. The lie, neatly summed up, is that the difference between knowing something and thinking something, or between knowledge and belief, is one of certainty. If you're unsure about something, then you think it. If you're sure about something, then you know it. But here are the facts. According to the Random House Dictionary, to know means to perceive or understand as fact or truth, to apprehend clearly and with certainty. Of course, there are many other meanings of the verb know, such as to fix in one's memory, to be aware of, to be acquainted with, to be able to distinguish one from the other, and so on. But only one of these meanings is relevant, and that's to understand as fact or truth, to apprehend clearly and with certainty. By contrast, according to the same dictionary, to think just means to have a belief. Similarly, knowledge means acquaintance with facts, truth, or principles, as from study or investigation, acquaintance or familiarity gained by sight, experience, or report, or the perception of fact or truth, clear and certain mental apprehension. By contrast, belief means something believed, an opinion or conviction, confidence in the truth or existence of something not immediately susceptible to rigorous proof. Note that you can have a conviction or be very certain and still just have a belief, not knowledge. So the difference between knowledge and belief is not one of certainty, but of accuracy and evidence. This is because it is possible to strongly believe false or unsubstantiated things. Billions of children around the world strongly believe in Santa Claus. They are very certain that he is there, and this certainty affects their behavior and their expectations of Christmas. But however certain they may be, they're still wrong. They have no evidence that Santa exists, and so they don't know that Santa exists. To know something, you must have demonstrable evidence for it. Feeling it, even seeing it or hearing it, is just not enough. This is demonstrated quite clearly in the case of John Nash, a brilliant man and Nobel Prize winner who for decades saw and felt and interacted with a number of people who turned out not to be real people, but just products of his own mind or hallucinations. In a much more tragic case, LaShawn Harris drowned her own children in the San Francisco Bay because she thought God told her to do so. Never mind that she was certain enough to murder her own children. She had no evidence that God really told her anything, so she didn't know it. Every year, hundreds of millions of people think they see and feel and experience hundreds of millions of things, and they're sure of it. But it doesn't matter. Unless they have any evidence for any of these things, they still don't know that they're real. Consequently, it is impossible to simultaneously know something and have faith that it's true. If you believe something, you can do it in one of two ways. Either you believe it with evidence for it, in which case you know it or have knowledge of it, or you believe it without evidence, in which case you don't know it and believe it through faith. Simultaneous knowledge and faith is simply not an option. So the truth is that the difference between knowing something and thinking or merely believing something is one of accuracy and evidence. If you have demonstrable evidence, you know the thing. If you don't have demonstrable evidence, you just think it, no matter how certain you are. Christians tell this lie for two reasons. The first is to falsely make their baseless assertions seem equal to the knowledge that many people have worked hard to get. Even though they have no demonstrable evidence with which to prop up their beliefs, they want to make them seem just as valid as all those things that people test, repeat, demonstrate, and know. The second reason is that Christians and religious people in general really like to affect other people's lives, and not in very nice ways, which is why they have a legacy of prejudice and oppression by sex, race, and sexual orientation. But forcing your views into law, government, or education is a lot more difficult if you honestly admit that you don't have any knowledge of these things, just faith and unsubstantiated belief. So Christians lie and say they know these things. But it doesn't matter if you believe in gods, or the Incredible Hulk, or in volcano goddesses, or tree monsters, or wood nymphs, or mutants, or whatever. If you have no objective, demonstrable indication that what you believe is true, if you have no evidence, no matter how strongly you believe it, you don't know it. And it is dishonest to say that you do. If you know of a lie that Christians like to tell, please send me a message with that lie and I'll make a video about it. Other than that, please rate the video, subscribe, and wait for more. There's more coming.